Hey everybody, Eric here again, and today I want to know, are we at Defcon 3? Alright, do me a quick favor, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let's get right to it. I want to know, because I'm not seeing it anywhere else, what the heck is going on with the US readiness. And so I'm hearing some stuff in some different types of groups across different kinds of things that maybe we are closer to nuclear war than they're letting us to believe right now. So let's do a little quick background about DEFCON and where we're at. So this is middle of March almost, or early to mid-March, just so everybody knows, of 2022. What's going on right now in the Ukraine is being invaded by Russia. There's all kinds of sanctions and stuff, to kind of really disrupt the Russian economy. Things are kind of off the rails right now. Depending on who you talk to, we're either on the verge of nuclear war or things are just hunky-dory and we're still talking about that other thing that was going on for 2020 and 2021. But all right, real quick background. So DEFCON, it stands for Defense Condition. And this code goes all the way back to early in the Cold War, around the 1950s, when it started as far as the escalation of nuclear arms. And it consists of 5 levels that really tell us where we're at in the world as far as risk for nuclear war. And this has evolved over time. And I want to put out there, this is not public information. They don't necessarily, go on TV and put an alert saying, hey, we're at DEFCON, whatever. So it's kind of some of the way we've gotten this data. I'll show you guys where I got it. But, it's out there. The conditions as far as what they mean are totally public, but what the readiness is of the U.S. military and Air Force right now, not necessarily public. So anyway, here it is. So there are 5 levels of DEFCON. 5 being the absolute mellowest, lowest possible thing that we could have out there, which basically means there is no chance of nuclear war and it's hunky-dory and, basic trainings going on, basic, readiness stuff, but nothing super critical. When you go, they actually call that fade out status is what they call that, or condition blue. The next level up is DEFCON 4. And I want to highlight that we're at DEFCON 4 a lot, just because there's a lot of instability going on in the world right now. Everything from North Korea stuff to, of course, the stuff going on in Russia, the stuff going on in China. I mean, there's been a lot going on. And so 4 has been pretty standard for quite some time. But they call that double take, and it's a green condition, which is like, hey, it's not impossible for things to escalate quickly, but it's not a perfect world either. And so just normal measures, normal readiness, that kind of thing is pretty the typical thing. DEFCON 3 is where things get a little interesting. They also call that condition yellow. And that's where things is like, well, wait a minute, we've got some stuff going on in the world that we probably should be a little bit ready, closer to pushing those buttons and having things in place, because things could get out of hand quickly. So I mentioned that was condition yellow. They also call that the roundhouse condition. But it's an increased readiness over normal, saying, hey, we've got some caution going on. And that's the one I'm going to highlight on here in a minute, but we'll talk about that in a second. A lot of people get confused about these last couple. And what I mean by that is the last couple are, people are like, oh, well, we're at DEFCON 1. DEFCON 1, that's really bad. We'll get to that. But DEFCON 2 is, we're about ready to go to nuclear war kind of stuff. DEFCON 2 is, hey, things are really, really bad. It's a condition red. Somebody's about to push the button. Things are about to go off the rails. I mean, the stuff is just bad. And so putting that out there, scary stuff. We've actually only been to DEFCON 2 once, and that was during the height of the Cuban Missile Crisis, and that was really only the Air Defense Command and things like that, not the entire U.S. military got to DEFCON 2, just the Strategic Air Command and things like that. And that means that there's all kinds of readiness stuff that they've got going on. They've got planes always in the air, the president's likely always in the air, those kind of things when we get to that kind of level. Like, threat is imminent. And the other thing I want to point out there is, then we get to DEFCON 1, and it's funny because DEFCON 1 is white, which is like, well, that sounds great. if we get to DEFCON 1, nuclear war is happening or about to happen or minutes away from happening. Like, we're already there. So when people are like, oh, well, 0 means nuclear war. No, 1 means that we are pretty much having nuclear war. We have never been that far up the scales. Obviously, we've only had 2 atomic blasts in the history, and those 2, that were used in wartime were before any of these things came out. So those are the scales, and that's how it works. And I'm going to also notate the last 2 because I don't think I did. Is DEFCON 2 is called fast pace, and they say the next it's literally next step is nuclear war. And then of course DEFCON 1 is cocked pistol, which makes sense. I mean it's cocked, ready to somebody to just and it's over. So let's talk about where we're at today. So today there is all kinds of uneasiness going on, and Russia is throwing out all kinds of threats saying, hey, this is an act of war, your sanctions are an act of war, you're being bad, the West, we don't like this going on. But the U.S. government said about a week ago, they said, hey, no, we're not escalating anything, we're keeping our status as normal. But there's something called the open source intelligence community that's kind of saying a little different thing. And what they're doing is they're taking observations as far as activity. So they say actions speak louder than words. The U.S. government's like, no escalation here, we're good. But there's planes in the Strategic Air Command that are in the air all the time now. There's things that are happening that are going on, and they get their data from eyewitnesses, from covert sources, from people publishing stuff, just general activities, behaviors. And there's a website that I've been focused on, I've been watching, which is defconlevel.com. And using all of these open source places, they seem to think as of February 28th, we have been elevated to DEFCON Level 3. And the last time that we're aware, again, because this stuff isn't really public, but the last time that we were aware that we were at DEFCON Level 3 was just after the September 11th attacks, when we didn't know what was going on. And so then the governor, or not the government at the time, the president and the defense secretary escalated it to Level 3 until we actually had an idea of what was going on. And then they lowered it right back down. And so according to defconlevel.com, they're saying as of February 28th, all of the indicators are there that we are now actually DEFCON Level 3. Now, if you talk to a bunch of different people in these different groups, everything from prepper groups to normal everyday business owners to average citizens, the threat of nuclear war seems pretty high. They're really worried that Russia has nothing to lose by pushing that button. And it would make sense that our government is on higher alert because of this situation and this scenario. And they're saying everything from coups could be possible to full-out nuclear war to nuclear, low-yield nuclear weapons being used in Ukraine and these other places. Europe's definitely on high alert and they're nervous. And the other thing to put out there is you've got countries like China and Russia and North Korea. Not so much North Korea yet. They're building new stuff. They're active too right now, but we're not talking about them today. These other countries are talking about, these new style, either super gigantic nukes that they're developing or that they have, or ones that can defeat a missile defense system for nuclear technology. So it's understandable we may be at DEFCON 3 right now. There is a ton of information on this site, and I'll share it out so everybody can see it, and I'll put it down in the link of the video as well, so you can take a look. This is kind of a community open source system that are saying, hey, this is what's going on. And they've got different reports. They're citing news sources, they're citing, activities. The open source intelligence community is pretty cool, and if you read some of these and you see how they're assembling it together, you might actually think that they're reaching DEFCON 3 as well. So anyway, that's the news. As of the recording of this video, they think we're at DEFCON 3. Obviously, the U.S. government's not going to confirm that, but that is a much higher escalation in overall nuclear arsenal and situation and statuses than that we're being led to believe right now. So anyway, please tell me your thoughts. Please like, share, and subscribe. I want to get this out there. I love sharing these cool kind of hidden, buried websites that are out there that may or may not be in front of you, that gives a different view of either technology or business or, in this case, thermonuclear war. Anyway, again, I already asked it once, but please like, share, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.